97% of people walk past injustice because it's safer than intervening. I didn't. That split-second decision in a high school bathroom 7 years ago just got me a $340,000 job offer from the victim I saved, who's now a billionaire CEO in Seoul. But when I arrived at his office and saw his face, I realized this wasn't gratitude. It was something far more dangerous. The fluorescent lights in Jefferson High's second-floor bathroom flickered like they always did at 2:47 p.m., casting jagged shadows across the tile floor. Aria Bennett pushed through the door, her mind still tangled in the calculus problem from fifth period, when she heard it. Laughter. The cruel kind that echoes. She froze, her hand still on the door, every instinct screaming at her to turn around, to pretend she'd heard nothing, to be smart, to be invisible, to be safe. "Look at him," a voice jeered. Derek Mason, captain of the basketball team, blessed with the kind of face that got away with cruelty. "Can't even fight back. What are you, mute?" Aria's stomach dropped. Through the gap in the stalls she could see them. 3 seniors surrounding someone pressed against the sink. The victim's head was down, dark hair covering his face, shoulders hunched in that universal posture of someone trying to make themselves disappear. She recognized him, the Korean exchange student, Ji-wook something. No, Park Ji-wook. He sat 2 rows behind her in AP Literature, never spoke, always left class first. "Your daddy buy your way into this school?" Derek continued, shoving Ji-wook's shoulder. "That how it works in Korea? Just throw money at problems?" The quiet courage her grandmother always talked about wasn't loud. It wasn't a declaration. It was the soft click of Aria's phone camera as she raised it, hands steadier than her heartbeat, and started recording. "Hey." Her voice cut through the bathroom like a blade. "Back up." 4 heads turned. Derek's face split into a grin that made her skin crawl. "Oh look, Bennett's playing hero." He stepped toward her, away from Ji-wook. "This doesn't concern you." Aria held up her phone, red recording light visible. "It does now. I've got 2 minutes of footage with your face and voice. My uncle's a lawyer. Your scholarship to state? Consider it gone." The silence that followed was electric. She could feel her pulse in her throat, in her fingertips, behind her eyes. This was stupid. This was dangerous. This was... "You're bluffing." But Derek's voice had changed. Uncertain now. "Test me." Aria met his stare, channeling every ounce of her mother's courtroom steel. "I've got nothing to lose. You've got everything." The standoff lasted 5 seconds that felt like 5 years. Then Derek's friends shifted, uncomfortable, already calculating their exits from this situation. "Whatever." Derek spat toward the sink, not quite at Ji-wook, but close enough to make his point. "He's not worth it anyway." They filed past her, Derek's shoulder deliberately bumping hers hard enough to make her stumble. The bathroom door swung shut behind them with a hydraulic hiss. Silence. Aria's hands were shaking now, adrenaline crash hitting her like a wave. She looked at Ji-wook, still pressed against the sink, and for the first time, he raised his head. Oh. She'd never seen him up close. Never noticed the sharp angles of his face, the dark intensity of his eyes, now rimmed red. His bottom lip was split, blood trailing down his chin. But what struck her, what would stay with her, was the expression. Not gratitude, not relief. Recognition. Like he'd been waiting for her specifically. "You're bleeding," she said. "Because what else do you say?" He touched his lip, looked at the blood on his fingers as if surprised by its existence. When he spoke, his English was careful, each word precisely placed. "You should not have done that." "Probably not." Aria moved to the paper towel dispenser, yanked out a handful, ran, them under cold water. "But here we are?" She approached slowly, the way you might approach a wounded animal, and extended the wet towels. He took them, their fingers not quite touching, and pressed them to his lip. "They will make your life difficult now," Ji-wook said. "They already make my life difficult." I'm the scholarship kid who doesn't know her place. Arya leaned against the opposite sink, maintaining distance. At least now I've earned it. Something flickered across his face. Almost a smile. Almost. You are not afraid of them. I'm terrified, she corrected. But fear's just information. It tells you what matters. Arya Bennett, he said, and she was surprised he knew her name. I will remember this. It wasn't thank you. It was something bigger, weightier. A promise or a prophecy. She couldn't tell which. Just stay away from the second-floor bathroom, she said, trying to lighten the moment, and maybe learn to throw a punch. I know how to fight. His voice was quiet but certain. I choose not to. That's either very wise or very stupid. Perhaps both. He pulled the towels away from his lip. The bleeding had slowed. You should go. Before they come back. Arya wanted to argue, to insist on walking him to the nurse, to do something more than leave him here. But his posture had shifted. Closed off now. Dismissive in that particular way that meant the conversation was over. Okay, she said. But Ji-wook, if they try anything again, they will not. There was certainty in his voice. Not anymore. Not to me. She didn't understand what he meant. Wouldn't. Until much later. The bathroom door swung shut behind her and Arya Bennett walked back to class, her hands still shaking, unaware that she'd just altered the trajectory of 2 lives and set in motion a chain of events that would span continents and years. But wait, here's where it gets crazy. Ji-wook Park didn't come to school the next day, or the day after that. By the 3rd day, rumors started circulating. He'd been pulled out, sent back to Korea. His family had been embarrassed by the incident, or proud that an American girl had defended their son, or furious about the whole thing. The stories multiplied and contradicted, and Arya ignored them all while her stomach twisted with guilt. She'd made things worse. Obviously, she'd made things worse. On Thursday, the principal called her into his office. Derek Mason sat in one of the chairs, face carefully blank. His parents flanked him, lawyer sharp and defensive. Ms. Bennett, Principal Whitmore said, his tone suggesting he was already exhausted by this conversation. I understand there was an incident. Arya's throat tightened. Yes, sir. A serious accusation has been made about Mr. Mason. Battery. Harassment. Whitmore leaned back in his chair. I'm told you have video evidence? She did. She'd watched it 17 times, each viewing making her more certain and more terrified. I do. Derek's mother, Catherine Mason, district judge, smiled thinly. I'm sure it's all a misunderstanding. Teenage drama. My son says there was no incident, and the alleged victim has withdrawn from school without filing any complaint. Then why am I here? Arya asked. Because we want to ensure this situation doesn't escalate. Whitmore's tone was careful. Sometimes, in the interest of school harmony, it's better to let certain things go. Translation: delete the video. Pretend it never happened. Protect the golden boy with the basketball scholarship and the influential family. Arya thought about Ji-wook's split lip, his quiet certainty. I will remember this. No, she said. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Ms. Bennett, Judge Mason said, her voice silk-overy. Steel. Let me be clear. If you pursue this, if you spread these accusations, we will consider it defamation, harassment. My son's reputation is based on him not being held accountable. Arya stood up, her chair scraping loud in the quiet office. I'm keeping the video. I'm not posting it or spreading it, but I'm not deleting it either. And if Derek comes near me, if he touches another student, if he so much as looks at someone wrong, it goes straight to every news outlet and social media platform I can find. Silence. Long and terrible. Then Principal Whitmore sighed. I think we're done here. Arya walked out, her entire body vibrating with rage and fear, and something that felt dangerously like power. She'd stood up, she'd held her ground, and she'd lost Jiwook in the process. 7 years later, Seoul, South Korea. Arya Bennett stared at the email on her phone for the 47th time, trying to find the catch, the trap, the too good to be true clause that would make sense of this offer. From Daehyun Global Enterprises. Subject: Director of International Strategy position. Salary: $340,000 USD base, plus housing allowance, plus relocation package. She was 25, 3 years out of business school, currently working 60-hour weeks at a mid-tier consulting firm for a quarter of that salary. This didn't happen. This wasn't real. You're overthinking it, her roommate Jasmine said, painting her nails a violent shade of purple on their cramped Boston apartment couch. They found you on LinkedIn. They liked your profile. Sometimes good things just happen. Not to me, they don't. Wow, that's healthy. Jasmine blew on her nails. Girl, you turned down 3 promotions because you were convinced they were tests. Maybe the universe is tired of you being dramatic and decided to hit you over the head with obvious good fortune. Arya scrolled through the email again. Daehyun Global. She'd researched them obsessively. 1 of South Korea's top 15 conglomerates: tech, manufacturing, real estate, entertainment, revenue in the billions. The kind of company that didn't hire unknown American consultants for director-level positions. Unless. What if it's a scam? Arya said. Then you'll figure it out before you wire them your life savings to prove you're not a robot. Jasmine set down her nail polish. Or, radical thought, what if it's legitimate and you're about to get the opportunity of a lifetime? The opportunity of a lifetime. To leave Boston, leave the familiar, leave the safe small world she'd built where nothing could surprise or disappoint her, because she never reached for anything beyond her grasp. Her phone buzzed. Another email. Ems. Bennett, we understand this offer is unexpected. Please find attached our full company prospectus, your proposed contract, and a personal letter from our CEO. We hope this addresses your concerns. We believe you are exactly who we need. Arya opened the attachment labeled personal letter. It was brief. 2 paragraphs in English so perfect it could only have been written by someone who'd studied the language with obsessive precision. Dear Ms. Bennett, you don't remember me. That's understandable. It was a long time ago, and I was someone who tried very hard to be forgettable. But I remember you. I remember what you did when you had every reason to walk away. I remember the courage it took to stand in that bathroom and decide that someone else's safety mattered more than your own. This offer is not charity. It is not sentiment. It is business. You have the skills we need, the perspective we lack, and the integrity that cannot be taught. But I would be lying if I said there wasn't a personal element. I owe you a debt. I would like the chance to repay it. Respectfully, Kang Min-jun, CEO, Daehyun Global Enterprises. The room tilted. Kang Min-jun. Not Park Ji-wook. Different name. But the words. I remember. You sent recognition flooding through her like ice water. Oh my God, Arya whispered. What? What is it? Jasmine leaned over, trying to read the screen. I know him. Arya's hands were shaking again, just like they had 7 years ago in a high school bathroom. The CEO, I know him. From where? How? And Arya told her. The whole story. The bullying, the recording, the standoff. Ji-wook's split lip and his quiet promise. I will remember this. He had. For 7 years. He'd remembered. So, Jasmine said slowly, your good deed from high school just offered you a $340,000 job in Seoul? Apparently. Girl. Jasmine gripped her shoulders. You're going to Korea. Arya wanted to argue, to list every reason this was insane, impractical, dangerous. She didn't speak Korean. She didn't know Seoul. She'd be alone in a country where she looked different, sounded different, would always be other. But underneath the fear was something else. Curiosity. That same instinct that had made her raise her phone in a bathroom 7 years ago, the one that said when the universe gives you a moment, you don't waste it being careful. "I'm going to Korea," Arya agreed. She had no idea what she was walking into. Here's what nobody tells you. International job offers from billionaire CEOs are never just about business. Incheon International Airport at dawn was organized chaos. Arya pushed through the arrival gate, her 2 overstuffed suitcases announcing her as exactly what she was. An unprepared American who'd packed her entire life and still somehow forgotten half of what she needed. A man in a black suit held a sign with her name. Not the driver. Too expensive a suit. Too perfect a posture. Executive assistant, maybe. He bowed slightly when she approached. "Ms. Bennett, welcome to Korea. I am Cho Tae-young, Director of Operations at Daehyun Global. CEO Kang sent me personally to ensure your arrival was comfortable." "That's very kind." Arya shifted. Her bags, suddenly conscious of her wrinkled flight clothes and probably terrible breath. "I didn't expect—" CEO Kang is very particular about first impressions. A hint of a smile. "You will find he is particular about many things. Your apartment is ready. We will take you there now to rest. You begin tomorrow." Tomorrow. Less than 12 hours to recover from a 14-hour flight and prepare to meet the boy from the bathroom who'd somehow become the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar empire. The car was exactly what she expected. Black, sleek, probably cost more than her student loans. Seoul blurred past the window. Neon and steel, ancient temples wedged between modern high-rises, a city that existed in 5 time periods simultaneously. "May I ask a question?" Tae-young said from the front seat. "Of course. How do you know CEO Kang?" There it was, the question that probably everyone in the company was asking. Why her? What connection did this unknown American consultant have to their famously private, notoriously demanding CEO? "We went to high school together," Arya said, which was true and also completely inadequate. Briefly, Tae-young nodded, accepting this non-answer. He does not often speak of his time in America. When he returned to Korea 7 years ago, he was different, focused, determined. He built Daehyun from near bankruptcy into what it is today, through, as he says, pure spite and excellent financial planning. 7 years ago, right after he'd disappeared from Jefferson High. "He speaks very highly of you," Tae-young continued. "He said you have integrity that cannot be bought. In our business, that is rare." The apartment was in Gangnam. Of course it was. 35th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. Modern, minimalist, probably cost more per month than Arya had made in a year at her Boston job. There is food in the refrigerator, Korean and American options. CEO Kang was unsure of your preferences. Tae-young set her bags down in the entryway. "A car will collect you at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Business casual attire. Do you have questions?" 1,000 questions, starting with, "What happened to you, Ji-wook?" and ending with, "Why am I really here?" "No questions," Arya said. "Thank you." Alone in the apartment, she walked to the window and stared out at Seoul. Somewhere in this city was the boy she'd saved. Except he wasn't a boy anymore, was he? He was Kang Min-jun, CEO, empire builder, someone who'd rebuilt himself completely, and tomorrow, she'd have to face him. "I wasted 7 years thinking that bathroom moment was just a random act of kindness. It wasn't. It was an investment. And the return was about to change everything." Daehyun Global's headquarters occupied 3 buildings in the financial district. Glass and steel and ambition made architectural. Arya's escort led her through a lobby designed to intimidate. All marble and height and the quiet hum of money being made. The elevator rode to the 48th floor in silence. Her reflection in the mirrored walls showed a woman in a navy suit and heels, professional armor, her hair pulled back, makeup subtle. She looked capable, confident, She was neither. The elevator doors opened directly into an executive suite, more floor-to-ceiling windows, a reception area where a woman in her 50s looked up from her computer with a smile that was warm but assessing. "Ms. Bennett, CEO Kang is expecting you. May I offer you tea? Coffee? Water would be great, thank you." "Please sit. He is finishing a call." Arya sat in a leather chair that probably cost more than her car and tried not to fidget. What was the protocol here? How did you greet someone who was simultaneously your high school memory, your boss, and apparently, your benefactor? A door opened behind the reception desk. "Ms. Song, please hold all my calls for the next." The voice stopped. Arya stood and turned. And there he was. 7 years had transformed Jiwook Park into Kang Min-jun the same way a storm transformed a landscape. He was taller. Had he been this tall? Shoulders broader in the perfectly tailored charcoal suit, dark hair styled back from his face. The soft vulnerability of the boy was gone, replaced by angles and intensity and presence. But the eyes, those were the same. Dark and deep, and looking at her with that same unsettling focus, like she was a puzzle he was determined to solve. "Arya Bennett," he said, and her name in his mouth, with that slight Korean accent curling the vowels, did something strange to her equilibrium. "You came. You offered." Her voice was steadier than she felt. Would have been rude to refuse. A smile, slight, testing. "You could have. Many people refuse when they realize who I am." "And who are you?" His head tilted, acknowledging the challenge. "Not the person you knew, but perhaps someone you will want to know." The air between them felt charged, electric. Ms. Song had quietly disappeared, leaving them alone in this glass tower above Seoul. "Thank you," Min-jun said quietly, "for coming, for trusting me." "I haven't decided if I trust you yet." Arya met his gaze. "This whole situation is bizarre. You disappear for 7 years, become a CEO, and then offer me a job I'm not qualified for. Forgive me for being suspicious." "You are exactly qualified." He moved toward her, not close enough to be uncomfortable, but close enough that she could see the faint scar on his bottom lip, the one from that day. "You have strategic thinking. You have courage. And you cannot be intimidated by power because you have already stood up to it when you had everything to lose." That was different. It was not. His voice was firm. "You saw someone being hurt and you intervened. That is the definition of leadership. That is what I need." "For what?" "For everything." He gestured toward his office. "Please, sit. Let me explain what you are truly here for." Everyone says loyalty is earned through time. They're wrong. Loyalty is earned through moments. And that bathroom moment was about to pay dividends neither of us expected. Min-jun's office was a study in controlled power. Minimalist furniture, a desk that looked like a single piece of black marble, and that view, Seoul spread out below them like a kingdom waiting to be claimed. He didn't sit behind the desk. Instead, he gestured to a seating area by the windows, 2 chairs facing each other across a low table. Equal positioning, intentional. "Before I explain," Min-jun said, settling into his chair with the precise control of someone who'd trained himself out of any wasted movement, "I need to know something. That day in the bathroom. Why did you help me?" Arya had expected many questions. Not this one. Because it was the right thing to do. That is what people say when they do not want to examine their real motivations. His eyes never left her face. "Try again." She bristled at the command but recognized the trap. He was testing her. Fine. 2 could play. "Because I was angry," Arya said. "At Derek, at the system that protected him, at every person who'd walked past something wrong because it was easier than standing up. And because..." She paused. "Because I saw myself in you. The outsider. The one who didn't fit." Min-jun leaned back, satisfaction flickering across his face. "Truth. Good. I can work with truth." Now you answer a question. Arya crossed her legs, matching his posture. Why did you really bring me here? And don't tell me it's just business. It is business. He pulled out a tablet, tapped a few commands, and turned it toward her. This is Daehyun Global's structure. 15 divisions, 43 subsidiaries, 8 international offices. Revenue last year was $47 billion. Arya scanned the organizational chart, her business school training kicking in automatically. Impressive. So where's the problem? The board. Minjun's voice hardened. When I took over 7 years ago, this company was 3 months from bankruptcy. My father, the previous CEO, had run it into the ground through incompetence and pride. I rebuilt everything, changed our focus from traditional manufacturing to technology integration. We now hold patents in AI, green energy, and advanced materials. But the board doesn't trust you. They tolerate me because I make them rich. But I am young, I am aggressive, and I spent my formative years in America, which makes me foreign in their eyes. He took the tablet back. They want me to fail. They want to replace me with someone more traditional. And I'm supposed to help with that how? By being my strategic director, by bringing Western business methodology to a Korean structure, by being so good at your job that they cannot dismiss you or me. Minjun leaned forward, but also because you are the only person I trust. The word hung between them. Trust. You don't know me, Arya said softly. Not really. We spent 10 minutes together 7 years ago. I know you stood in front of 3 people who could have destroyed you, and you did not flinch. I know you kept that video as protection even when a judge threatened you. I know you walked away from your principal's office with your integrity intact. His voice dropped. I spent 7 years building myself into someone who could never be hurt again. But I forgot that power without trust is just isolation. You reminded me that courage exists. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something in her chest. This wasn't just a job offer. This was a lifeline disguised as a contract. Okay, Arya said. I'll do it. But on my terms. His eyebrow raised. Which are? Full transparency. You don't make moves without consulting me. I'm not a prop or a shield, I'm a partner. She held his gaze. And if I think you're wrong about something, I tell you. No. Filtering. A slow smile spread across his face, the first real one she'd seen. It transformed him, made him look younger, almost like the boy from the bathroom. Agreed. He extended his hand. Welcome to Daehyun Global, Director Bennett. His hand was warm, grip firm, and when their palms connected, Arya felt something shift. Like the universe clicking a puzzle piece into place. This was going to change everything. If you do exactly what your boss wants, you're losing. Unless you know this secret. 3 weeks into her position, Arya understood why Minjun needed her. The board meeting was a masterclass in corporate warfare disguised as civility. 12 men in expensive suits, all over 50, all watching her with expressions ranging from skepticism to outright hostility. Gentlemen, Minjun said in Korean, then switched to English. As discussed, Director Bennett will be presenting our new international expansion strategy. Arya stood, her tablet connected to the main screen. She'd spent 70 hours on this presentation. It was bulletproof. Our analysis shows 3 key markets for expansion, she began. Southeast Asia, particularly Vietnam and Thailand, where manufacturing costs are... Excuse me. One of the board members, she recognized him from the org chart as Director Huang, old money, old guard, raised his hand. Why are we listening to someone with no experience in Asian markets explain Asia to us? The room temperature dropped. Minjun's face remained neutral, but she saw his jaw tighten. Because, Arya said smoothly, not missing a beat. I'm not explaining Asia. I'm explaining how Western companies perceive Asian markets, which is what matters when we're courting their investment. Unless you'd prefer to remain domestically focused while your competitors go global? Silence. Director Huang's face reddened. Continue. Another board member said, Amused? She did. 45 minutes of data, projections, risk analysis. When she finished, the room was quiet. Then Director Park, no relation to Min Jun's old name, spoke. This is aggressive. Perhaps too aggressive for our current position. Respectfully, Arya said, your current position is comfortable stagnation. You've grown 7% year over year, which sounds good until you realize the industry average is 12%. You're falling behind while feeling successful. Min Jun's lips twitched. Almost a smile. Bold words, Director Huang said coldly. Perhaps in America, rudeness is valued. Here, we respect experience. And I respect results. Arya closed her tablet. I'm not here to make you comfortable. I'm here to make you richer. CEO Kang can implement this strategy with or without board approval. But with your support, we move faster and stronger. Your choice. The meeting ended in tense silence. As they filed out, Min Jun's hand brushed her lower back. Brief, grounding. My office, he murmured. Now. She expected anger. Instead, when his office door closed, Min Jun laughed. Actually laughed, head thrown back, stress cracking. You called them stagnant to their faces. Was I wrong? No, but now they want you gone. He moved to his desk, pulled out 2 glasses and a bottle of whiskey. They will try to undermine you, question every decision, make your life difficult. Good. Arya accepted the glass. Means I'm doing something right. He studied her over the rim of his glass, that intense focus back. You are not afraid of them. I'm terrified, she corrected. But fear is just information. He finished her sentence, remembering. It tells you what matters. Their eyes met, held. Why do you do that? Arya asked quietly. Do what? Look at me like you're memorizing me. Min Jun set down his glass, moved around the desk, stood close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. Because 7 years ago, you were the only good thing in my life, the only person who saw me as human. His voice was low, controlled, but something underneath it vibrated with intensity. And I told myself that if I ever had the power, if I ever became someone, I would find you. I would bring you into my world. I would keep you close enough that nothing could hurt you. That's... Arya's breath caught. That's a lot of pressure. Yes. He didn't move back. Too much? She should say yes. Should establish boundaries. Should remember this was her boss, her benefactor, someone who held all the power in this dynamic. But when she looked at him, really looked, she didn't see a CEO. She saw a boy with a split lip who'd promised to remember, who'd kept that promise through 7 years and an ocean. Ask me again in a month, Arya said. His smile was slow, dangerous. I will hold you to that. I went from 50K to 340K in one conversation, but here's what I lost in the process. The pattern established itself quickly. Arya would present strategies. The board would resist. Min Jun would support her quietly, letting her fight her own battles. And slowly, incrementally, they'd win. But she started noticing things. The way Min Jun always positioned himself between her and the door in meetings. How his assistant Tae-young somehow appeared whenever she walked alone through the building. The fact that her apartment building had upgraded security the week she moved in. You're watching me, she said one evening, standing in his office doorway. Most of the building had gone home. They were alone on the executive floor. Min Jun didn't deny it. Yes. That's creepy. That is protection. He stood from his desk, moved toward her. This city, this industry, there are people who would use you to get to me. I will not allow that. I'm not helpless. I know. He stopped close, too close, his presence overwhelming. But you are also not invincible, and you matter too much. To the company? To me. The confession hung between them, heavy and significant. Arya's heart hammered against her ribs. Minjun, I know it is wrong. I know I have power over you here. I know this is inappropriate. His hand came up, stopped inches from her face, hovering. But I have spent 7 years becoming someone worthy of standing beside you. And now that you are here, I find I am very bad at pretending you are just an employee. What am I then? His eyes burned. Everything. She should step back. Should shut this down. Should remember every HR policy and power dynamic and reason this was a terrible idea. Instead, she closed the distance between them. Then stop hovering, Arya whispered, and touch me. His control shattered. His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone, and the gentleness of it contradicted the intensity in his eyes. I will not be careful with you, Minjun said, voice rough. I will want too much. Demand too much. Good. She leaned into his touch. I'm not interested in careful. He kissed her then, finally, inevitably, and it was nothing like she'd imagined. It wasn't soft or testing. It was claiming, desperate, 7 years of wanting compressed into a single moment of contact. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Minjun rested his forehead against hers. This complicates everything, he murmured. I know. The board will use it against us. Let them try. He laughed softly, still fearless. Still terrified, she corrected. But you're worth the risk. But wait. Here's where everything falls apart. 2 months later, everything exploded. Director Huang called an emergency board meeting. Arya knew something was wrong when Minjun's face went blank. His corporate mask. The one that meant he was calculating threats. They found something, he said, staring at his computer screen in the pre-dawn darkness of his office. They'd taken to working late together, stolen hours that bled into conversations, kisses, carefully maintained boundaries they both knew wouldn't last. Found what? My brother. Minjun's voice was flat. Half-brother. Younger. My father's legitimate son from his second marriage. Arya moved behind his desk, read over his shoulder. The email was formal, legal, devastating. Kang Hyun-woo, age 22, heir to the Kang family, contests current CEO's legitimacy and claims rightful position as head of Daehyun Global. I didn't know you had a brother. Neither did I. My father kept many secrets. Minjun's jaw clenched. Apparently, Hyun-woo has been waiting, building support, and now he is making his move. The emergency board meeting was brutal. Hyun-woo attended. Young, handsome, impeccably dressed, with their father's charisma and none of Minjun's hard-won control. Gentlemen, Hyun-woo said, his Korean smooth and aristocratic. I come not to attack my brother, but to offer succession. He has done well as interim CEO, but the company belongs to the Kang bloodline. It is time for proper leadership. CEO Kong saved this company, Arya interjected in English, her translator app converting her words in real time. His results speak for themselves. Ah yes, the American. Hyun-woo switched to perfect English, smiled at her with calculated charm. My brother's assistant? Or is it something more personal now? The room went silent. Minjun's hand under the table found her knee, squeezed once. Warning or support, she wasn't sure. Director Bennett is our strategic director, Minjun said coldly, and her personal life is irrelevant. Is it? Hyun-woo pulled out his phone, swiped, projected an image onto the screen. Minjun and Arya, leaving the building together late at night, his hand on her back. The staff talk. They wonder if American methods include sleeping your way to director positions. Arya stood, her chair scraping loud. How dare? Sit down. Minjun's voice cracked like a whip. She sat, shocked. He stood, instead, buttoning his suit jacket with precise movements. You want to challenge my position? Fine. Call a vote. See if this board believes a spoiled 22-year-old with a prestigious last name, but zero experience can run a multi-billion-dollar company better than someone who rebuilt it from nothing. I second the motion, Director Huang said immediately. All in favor of replacing CEO Kong with Kong Hyun-woo? 5 hands raised. Not enough for majority, but enough to show the split. Meeting adjourned, Min-jun said. We reconvene in 1 week for formal vote. I lost 50K doing what everyone recommended. Then I learned this one counterintuitive truth. That night, in Arya's apartment because his felt too exposed, Min-jun broke. Not dramatically, not loudly, just stopped. Sat on her couch and stared at nothing while she made tea he wouldn't drink. I'm going to lose, he said finally. No. Arya sat beside him. You're not. He has legitimacy, family, name, and they are right. I am too aggressive, too Western, too young. You're also brilliant and proven. She took his hand. But more than that, you're good. You care about this company beyond profit. You've implemented worker protections, environmental policies, ethical sourcing. Your brother will undo all of that for short-term gains. That will not sway the board. Then we don't convince the board. Arya's mind raced, strategy clicking into place. We go public. We show employees, shareholders, the media what's really happening. We make this about values, not bloodlines. Min-jun looked at her, hope warring with skepticism. That is risky. If we fail, we won't fail. She squeezed his hand. Trust me, the way I trusted you. The next week was warfare. Arya organized employee forums, leaked ethical comparison documents to financial journalists, coordinated social media campaigns highlighting Min-jun's innovations. The narrative shifted from legitimate heir returns to hostile takeover threatens progressive leadership. The night before the vote, Min-jun found her in her office at 2 a.m., surrounded by empty coffee cups and strategy documents. You should sleep, he said. So should you. He moved into her space, pulled her from her chair, wrapped his arms around her. She sagged against him, exhausted and wired simultaneously. Win or lose, Min-jun murmured into her hair. You have given me something I thought I lost. Hope. The belief that fighting matters. We're going to win. How are you so certain? Because I've seen you lose before. In that bathroom. Surrounded by people who wanted to break you. She pulled back, met his eyes. You survive that. You'll survive this. He kissed her then, soft and deep and promising, and she tasted desperation and gratitude and something bigger she wasn't ready to name. This transformation took 7 years. Here's how we did it in 7 days. The boardroom was packed. Not just board, members, employees, journalists, shareholders. Arya had made sure of it. Transparency as weapon. Hyun-woo presented first. Polished, professional, emphasizing tradition and family legacy and return to Korean values. It was good. Practiced. Empty. Then Min-jun stood. He didn't use slides. Didn't read from notes. Just spoke. His voice carrying across the room with quiet authority. 7 years ago, I returned to Korea broken. I had been bullied, beaten, told I was worthless because I did not fight back. Because I chose dignity over violence. His eyes found Arya in the crowd. One person showed me that courage is not about fighting. It is about standing up when standing up costs you everything. I rebuilt this company with that lesson. Yes, I am aggressive. Yes, I challenged tradition. But I also implemented living wages, environmental sustainability, transparency. Because a company is not just profit. It is people. And people deserve to be protected, even when protection is expensive. He turned to the board. My brother offers you comfort, familiar methods, short-term gains. I offer you risk and growth, and the knowledge that we are building something that matters beyond our balance sheets. Choose comfort if you wish. But know that comfort is just another word for decay. The silence after his speech vibrated. Then an employee stood. Then another. Applause started, hesitant, then thunderous. Director Park, who'd been skeptical from the beginning, stood. I call for vote. All in favor of maintaining CEO Kang Min-jun in his position? 8 hands. Majority. Min-jun's face remained composed, but Arya saw the moment his shoulders dropped, tension releasing. Hyunwoo smiled thinly. This isn't over. Yes, Min-jun said quietly. It is. If this story made you believe in second chances and the power of standing up, here's what you need to do next. They celebrated at his apartment, minimalist, expensive, with a view that made Seoul look like a galaxy. You saved me, Min-jun said, pulling her against him as they stood by the window. Again. We saved each other. He turned her to face him, his hands framing her face with devastating gentleness. I am in love with you. I have been since you stood in that bathroom and decided I was worth defending. Arya's breath caught. Min-jun, you do not have to say it back. But I need you to know. I need you to understand that this, he gestured between them, is not gratitude. It is not obsession. It is choice. Every day, I choose you. Tears pricked her eyes. I choose you, too. I've been choosing you since the moment you told me power doesn't corrupt. It reveals. Then stay. His forehead touched hers. Not as my employee, not as my director. As mine. Completely. That's a terrible HR violation. He laughed, the sound raw with relief. Then I will promote you. Co-CEO, equal power, no violations. That's insane. Yes. He kissed her softly, but we are good at insane. Arya kissed him back, deeper, letting 7 years of tension and 2 months of careful boundaries shatter completely. His hands slid into her hair, her fingers fumbled with his tie, and they crashed toward his bedroom in a tangle of limbs and laughter and desperate need. That night, they rewrote every rule. His touch was reverent and demanding, mapping her body like territory he'd conquered and worshipped simultaneously. She learned the sounds he made when she kissed his scars, the way his control fractured when she whispered his name. They fit together like they'd been designed for exactly this, like the universe had been waiting 7 years for them to figure out what Arya had known in that bathroom. Some people are worth fighting for. Some connections are worth every risk. 6 months later, Daehyun Global announced record profits and its youngest ever co-CEO. The business press called it revolutionary. The board called it risky. Min-jun and Arya called it Tuesday. They stood in the same boardroom where they'd almost lost everything, presenting their annual report to shareholders. This year, Arya said, her Korean now fluent enough to present without translation. We expanded into 4 new markets, implemented company-wide sustainability protocols, and increased employee satisfaction ratings by 43%. We also, Min-jun added, his hand finding hers under the table, learned that the best business decisions are the ones that prioritize people over profit, not because it is soft, but because people build empires, and empires built on fear eventually crumble. After the presentation, alone in their shared office, they'd knocked down the wall between their spaces literally and metaphorically. Min-jun pulled her close. Do you regret it? He asked. Giving up Boston, your independence, normal life. Arya laughed. Normal is overrated. Besides, I traded it for something better. Multi-billion-dollar company? You. She kissed him softly. I traded it for you. His smile was that rare, unguarded one, the boy from the bathroom breaking through the CEO armor. Then I am the one who won. They kissed in their office above Seoul, surrounded by the empire they'd built together. And Arya thought about that day 7 years ago, about the choice to raise her phone instead of walking away, about how one moment of courage had led to this, to love and partnership, and a life she'd never imagined. Some people believe destiny is written in the stars. Arya knew better now. Destiny is written in choices, in standing up when it's easier to walk away, in trusting someone with your fear and your hope. And sometimes, if you're lucky, destiny wears a school uniform and carries a split lip and grows into the person who will stand beside you while you build something extraordinary. That night, in Minjun's apartment, wrapped in his arms with Soul glittering below them, Arya finally understood what Hida meant 7 years ago. I will remember this. Not just the moment, the lesson. That courage ripples, that kindness compounds, that some debts can only be repaid by building a life together. Thank you, Minjun murmured against her hair, for seeing me when I was invisible. Thank you, Arya whispered back, for waiting until I was ready to be seen. They fell asleep, tangled together, two people who'd found each other in a bathroom, and again in a boardroom, and finally, completely, in the messy, beautiful reality of choosing each other every single day. If this story moved you, if it made you believe in second chances and the power of standing up, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share it with someone who needs to hear that courage matters, that kindness ripples, and that the best love stories are the ones where two people fight for each other against everything. Drop a comment telling me, would you have raised that phone in the bathroom? Would you have taken that job in Seoul? Because sometimes, the most important question is not what if, but what now? Thank you for listening. Until the next story.